hooks it around towards half forward, winds underneath there. McKernan flies. What a mark!
Well, there was the two big blokes there, wasn't there? Scott Wind and young Round, but McKernan's leap was just able to jump over the top of him. He's a couple of times North have come forward. They've kicked the ball to the predictable spot around centre half forward, and Wind's been underneath the ball, but it's basically one beats two.
McKernan is a thumping kick, kicking into a slight breeze. Oh, he kicks into the man on the mark, but far too close. Socket off the ground towards centre wing, and a respite there for the Bulldogs as it's taken away by Laidley.
On the left, goes inside 50. Stevens in the front, got a push from Cox. Coliniuk on the up, okay, got it to West. West goes back. Here's Dent, ex-Fitzroy. There's a few of those out there. And Cameron at half back. That lazy style of his, normally pretty effective. Well played there by Armstrong. To Pike, speaking of Fitzroy. Carey leapt early, disrupted the pack. Clever tactics. Off the ground, Wirra gets it away. Not far enough from Western Bulldogs' point of view. And taken by Capuano, who started promisingly. Had a knee injury in 95, was good last year in the premiership year. Carey at the back, holding his ground strongly in the front, I think was Dent. Bell coming over the top, and it's going to be a bounce about 20 metres from North Melbourne's goal. Now the National Sportsbet odds, North Melbourne long odds on at $1.12 per $1, and the Western Bulldogs at 4 to 1. You get $5 for your dollar. Bell's got hold of it.
So Bell to Armstrong, again in the danger area at full forward. The pack develops, it's thumped. Oh, it's still Carey picking it up. Gets in a quick hand pass. Here's Rock going in after it. Anderson's also, strong tackle by Wine. And the umpire deemed he had no chance of getting rid of it. John?
Yeah, with those ones, the umpire has to decide whether the players had a prior opportunity to dispose of the ball before he's tackled. In that instance, he obviously had no prior opportunity, was wrapped up, so the bounce results.
20 metres out from the North goal. Scores a level. McKernan grabs it out of the pack, and he might have kicked the goal here. Yes.
Well, we often talk the fact that McKernan, his centre bounce clearances, the ability to jump in the centre bounce and then get the ground level possession. Well, that was almost an example of, again, ignoring the ground level player. Took it out of the air, just had the balance on the boot. Some say a little bit of luck possibly, but through it went. He seems to make things look pretty lucky pretty often.
So North in front now at 2 goals to a goal. North Melbourne 2 goals to a goal. The light ship shot gives you a good idea of just how far the Bruckman run at it at the centre bounce. Capuano went early. Smith getting touches. Gets it inside 50. Watts and Archer. That's a pretty good matchup. Darcy with him, Longmire. Well played, Longmire. Comes to ground. Taken by Watts on the left. Not bad. Close. He's got it. Well, the leading goal kicker at the club last year has scored the second. And so the key forwards, Lee, have got the both goals for the Western Bulldogs, Minton, Connell and Watts.
Well, Jason Watts has been a very unusual player. Most players will go from forward line to defence to make themselves a name for himself, but Watts went from defence to attack last year, kicked 44 goals, and to be a really effective, small, medium size, you might say, forward, and good left foot snap over his shoulder. He's become a dangerous forward pocket type.
Excellent game we're witnessing out here at Waverley. Capuano, tapped down beautifully. Kicked by Scott West down towards the half-forward line. Smith doing well. Over to West. West a hurry kick. Minton Connell wrestling. Oh, the big thump comes from over the back. Stevens mops up. Gives it to Laidley. North Melbourne, as we said earlier, playing a very, very strong side. There's a good mark out here by Anthony Rock on centre wing. Off he goes. They're programmed to get that ball moving as quickly as possible. There's almost a mark. In fact, holding the man, I'd say, to McKernan. Off he goes. Oh, runs around. No, he's got to go back. So behind the mark, John.
He's got to be in his line of kick, and in that instance, he was clearly about 5 metres around from his line of kick, so he can't take that advantage.
The Footscray player picked up the ball, John, and just let it drop. Might have been a little lucky the umpire didn't actually see that, one would think.
So McKernan drives it in towards the pocket. Cox, good hand pass. at the Croft. It's good to see him out there. He's had a lot of hamstring trouble over the last couple of years. On to Brad Wirra, he's doing well. To half forward, Luke Darcy races back after it. He's against Longmire. Well played by Darcy to gather about 25 metres. Look at the pace of Smith. Just went past the ball. There's little Stevens heading for the boundary line, and he gets it over.
Just on those ones, Lee, I mean, it's pretty obvious that if the umpire sees the players had possession of the footy, he must give it back to the fellow with the free kick. But it's a tough one to pick up because play is very fast.
Saw the bench a moment ago. Brent Harvey there, the young rover for North Melbourne, along with a bit of experience with Roberts and Blakey at the moment. They play 22 in the Ansett Cup. Quarters are in this first round, 15 minutes plus time on, so they're shorter. They go to 20 minutes in the quarterfinals.
Haven't they given David Round a tough initiation on McKernan, Bruce?
Yes, the 18-year-old. His father made such a mark as a league footballer at two clubs. Armstrong tries to burst his way through. Rock, who had a stellar season in '96, worked out of it cleverly. Was Scott, kicked by Cameron to half forward. Missed there by North Melbourne's Pike. Chance now for Footscray. Kick of goal by Hudson. Has he got it? He has. What a dream start for the two ex-Hawks. Well, they would have felt that this was stretching it too far, maybe, Lee. First kick for Minton Connell, first kick for Hudson for the Western Bulldogs goals.
Yeah, so it was the fumbled mark by Pike that set up the opportunity, but nevertheless from the second effort, yeah, Minton Connell to Hudson, it was a good finish. So both of them got their confidence up early by having a kick for goal. It's great when they go through.
So the Western Bulldogs in front by 6 points. As Lee Matthews said, an excellent second effort by Simon Minton Connell. Almost a free kick to Wine, but not paid. In goes Robert Scott, former cap. Back it comes Wine, doing well at those centre bounces. West is there, racing through with Robert Scott again. There's Scott West. Oh, good little kick, gathered about 15 metres. But the little terrier is there. Anthony Rocky brings it out in the wide open spaces. Cameron versus Stevens. A good battle going on. Well played. This is a good game of football. So we see Leon Cameron around the corner. Finds Allen. Allen comes inside. Back to Cameron. Gee, a fit Cameron will make a difference to this side as he drives it long. Underneath it was Jason Watts. Racing back after it is Archer. Gee, they've got some talent in this side, North Melbourne, as he brings it back to Laidley on centre wing. No mark and no free kick either. Racing in after it there was Paul Hudson. Now it's taken away by Smith, who's doing well.
Goes towards goal. Pretty close. Not bad at all. Has he got it? He thinks he has. Another one. So the Western Bulldogs have kicked the last 3 goals, and they lead by 2.
Don't think there's much doubt they've come out to play tonight, the Bulldogs. The midfield speed, I think, is troubling North a little bit, particularly Smith, as we just saw. He finished, but a few of those surges through the centre of the ground. Johnson, Cameron out there on the wing. Stevens, I'm not sure Anthony Stevens, whether he started on Cameron, but he's certainly been put onto him now. Strange player, Leon Cameron. He's a natural right foot kick, but I would think he kicks 3/4 of the time with his left foot.
The premiership coach from 1996. Denis Pagan, and premiership coach in the night series, the Ansett Cup in 1995, has had tremendous success. West through the centre. Western Bulldogs on a bit of a roll. Kicks the ball towards full forward. Archer, the Norm Smith medalist from last year. Peter McKenna a few minutes ago when calling, Archer belted the ball out of defence. It was an impressive effort. Gets it to Rock. On now to Anderson. Had hamstring troubles going into that grand final last year. Kicks the ball to half forward. Carey took a couple out just by his presence. Wirra's handball. Dent made a mistake. Got a high tackle play on. Carey inside. Allison normally a great kick for goal. Going into the square. Bouncing ball. Test of strength for a moment. Pushed through though by Cox. Behind the first one in this match to date. North are 2-1 and the Western Bulldogs are 4 goals.
Just over 4 minutes left in this first term. Cox played most of his football so far for Footscray down the forward line. Here's Matthew Dent, who I know when Bernie Quinlan coached the old Fitzroy, thought he was the hardest player in the team at the ball. Here's Armstrong playing for the free kick. Taken away by Scott West, who's doing very well. On to Croft. Croft going wide. This is another good build-up. He is killing them out here. Rowan Smith, he is super quick. He races onto the right foot. The short pass is on. Oh, good spoil by Archer to punch it away. Racing after it is Flaky, but the whistle has gone. A free kick back here. I think it's North Melbourne's way, and
Pete,
it will go to Archer.
Pete, the umpire signalled push in the back. It was obviously off the ball, so we haven't seen it.
Longmire wide to Laidley, stretched him a bit, the veteran. Courageous player. Pike. Good kick inside to Rock. Rock goes as far as he can to half forward, but Croft nearly had to stretch the old hamstring a bit. Mickey Martin way up the ground, high ball, forward pocket. McKernan sets himself, ball gets away from them, round McKernan, bouncing ball, run over by Cox, behind. Touched all clear, you could hear the central umpire calling out. So 2-2 to 4 goals. The margin 10 points. Ansett Cup, the fourth of the matches. Adelaide won Friday night. Geelong won Saturday night. Richmond won a beauty last night.
Leon Cameron, as we have seen in a lot of these Ansett Cup matches, they love tapping the ball for themselves and playing on. Here's Ramiro, and they're getting a lot of space, these Western Bulldogs players. Down to centre wing. Blakey's been put on to Smith, because he has been very dominant. Darcy, back to Smith again. Tries to get in a hand pass, and how's the umpire seen this one? It is going the way of North Melbourne, probably holding the ball.
Yeah, Rowan Smith actually tried to break the tackle and ran away with it. We see him take the football here. He's running away from the tackler. The tackle is laid, and then he just drops the footy. Clear free kick for incorrect disposal.
Stevens got it to King, and King belted the ball down forward. Allison over the top of it. Wirra attempting to get a handball out, back to Allison. Allison chips it forward. Rock goes for goal, looks close. He likes it. He's got it. Goal almost from nowhere there for North Melbourne. They're 3-2, the Western Bulldogs at 4 goals.
And that free kick up the other half-forward flank, I mean, it was probably a free kick, but the fact was the two Footscray players got in there each other's way, basically. Romero and Smith, the shepherd and the handball, they didn't know what they were doing. And that turnover, really, the quick movement forward has enabled North Melbourne to take control, and Anthony Rock always hard at it at ground level.
So Terry Wallace looking on. He'd be happy with Rowan Smith, though. He's had 6 kicks, 4 marks and 1 handball. Been very dominant. They only lead by 4 points. Wind has been winning at the centre bounce. Again, he gets his hands to it. Oh, well played as Hudson. He did that very well onto Brad Johnson. Johnson on the left, brings it down towards the half-foot line. He's looking for Darcy. There's the mean-looking Mickey Martin, bringing it back to half-back. Good mark by Stuart Anderson. Very safe chest mark. Got a lot of talent, this player. Brings it down to centre wing. Craig Ellis waits underneath it. On to Croft. I just hope his hamstrings stand up, because he's a good, honest player, Matthew Croft. Off he goes and brings it in towards the half-forward line. Oh, a poor bounce, but Minton Connell waits at the back, gives it off. Hudson again, brings it in towards goal. He can't bend it back enough, one behind.
We noticed Paul Hudson in the centre square for that last ball up, and I think Terry Wallace has indicated that Hudson's not only going to be a permanent forward, he wants to be able to use him in an on-ball type role as well.
King going short. Now Blakey on the up to Pike, who in this strip looks a bit like Blakey with a similar haircut. Kicks the ball to centre half forward. Carey, good take. Long way from goal, about to 80 metres. Goes to the pocket, good kick off the boot. Scholl, hard man to match up with. Dent did well, just missed West with the handball. West had time, got it to Ellis. It was a clever kick under a bit of pressure. Then Ellis chips away into the centre. Goes to Round, his first touch, back to West. The look away handball. Round in trouble, taken off him. Play on call. McKernan goes for goal, and does he kick it? I think he has. Is it coming back? It looked a goal.
Player advantage wasn't called, Bruce, so the ball has to come back for the free kick to be taken.
So coming back for North Melbourne. And
those ones are difficult for the umpire, even though North Melbourne had possession of the footy, and it would have been to their advantage to call play on. Quite often the umpire's range of vision is not wide enough, and he can't see who's actually got the footy because he's still looking at the incident that's just occurred. So Not making excuses, but it is a tough one to pick up all the time.
Armstrong sort of chips it away to a spot at centre half forward. Bell over the top, and it's going to be a bounce about to 25 metres out from goal. It's been an excellent opening term. 4-1 the Western Bulldogs, 3-2 North Melbourne.
And there's Peter Bell on screen, former Fremantle player, of course, and very close to quarter time here. Very important the Bulldogs don't allow North a goal out of this bounce down. Here's Pike. Oh, he's kicked it straight in towards the square. Taken away. Oh, well played by David Round. Backed himself in. Given back to him by Croft. That was excellent football. Towards centre wing to Bradden Wirra, who's done very well, but the ball rolls and beats him over the line. If the time clock ticks down towards quarter time, Brad Wirra doing pretty well there, Lee.
Yes, he's given us a bit of the Bulldogs a bit of bounce off the halfback. I was just thinking, young David Round, the one thing that young players have to adjust to is the tackling pressure in the AFL. They haven't got nearly as much time to get rid of the ball.
Pike, Wirra with courage, kept his eye on it at halfback. Feisty little player. He'll kick it as far as he can. Centre wing. Probably no time now for a score either way. Scott round the body and high ball. So the Western Bulldogs are going to be pretty happy at quarter time. Nothing much in it though, and that's a sign of a good team. Seemingly outplayed North Melbourne and yet within 5 points. So Lee, a competitive opening.
It's snack time in Australia.
It's snack time. It's snack time now. It's snack time. It's snack time now. Everyone around the world is saying, go, go. It's why everyone around the world is saying, snack time now. Everyone around the world is saying, go, go. It's why everyone around the world is saying.
Western Bulldogs really mean business. It's time for the West to win. It's time, boys. It's time now. It's time for the West to get up and win. Join the power of the West.
Magnum. It's bliss.
I'm in a world of my own.
Pure luxury. That first bite. Oh, the chocolate cracks. My heart melts.
I have to have one now.
Nothing compares to Magnum. Perfection.
Ecstasy.
Passionate. Yeah, I'm hooked. It's all mine.
Hot.
Skip. Jump. Join. Real kangaroos. Hop, skip, jump and join. Be a member in 1997. Phone 9326 8666.
So North with a breeze at its back, going to the left of screen as we commence the second term. This fourth match in the Ansett Cup Series, still first round action. Wind, little one, Ramiro, head down low. He was an equal best and fairest winner with Chris Grant last year. There's Stevens out of the centre. Allison, clever mark. We're onto him. What a great final series he had last year, Brett Allison. As he goes towards full forward, Carey a target, didn't go. Croft was with him and Ellis came from the side, so good tactic there by the Bulldogs. Colin played most of his footy as a opportunist forward rover, now at the back. It's Cox. Handball inboard. Short to Cameron. Cameron chips to Johnson. He's played a lot of footy, Johnson, now. Still just 20 years of age. In his fourth season. Pushes it wide. Gets to Croft. So the Bulldogs setting it up here.
Good play by Matthew Croft. As he races away, and a poor kick, though, because he's kicked it straight to Brett Allison, who gives it off to David King. And King's a very long kick. He brings it in towards halfway. Croft set himself. They're playing two on Carey at the moment. Or diving over the top was Dent. And the umpire is going to bounce. And Carey didn't like that. As I mentioned earlier about Matthew Dent, Bernie Quinlan had a very high opinion of Dent at Fitzroy. He said he was as tough as nails. And he's already mixing it out there. So it's at 50 metres from the North Melbourne goal. Been under a bit of pressure. It's a good effort so far by the Western Bulldogs. Diving on top of it for the Bulldogs is Scott West.
It's interesting, just before when Ellis marked the ball, I think that's what the Footscray defenders have to be prepared to do. Carey will wrestle with his direct opponent, and really a third up marking opportunity for our Bulldogs player who's got the courage, I suppose, to leave his direct opponent and take the jump at it.
So David Round against McKernan. Well, he just missed it when he went for that quick kick, young Round. Kicked away by Armstrong. Here's Johnson with pace. Good play. Kept it going in their direction. Now he's coming back into the fray, but he's got the skill to get away with it as he transfers play across towards centre wing. Well done by Hudson, but he's caught that could be holding it. Umpire didn't think so. West is tackled as he picked up the ball, so I'm sure this will be a bounce.
Centre wing, right on the sponsor's logo. West picks himself up. Had a lot of injuries last year. A couple of wry smiles there between two opponents. No doubt will tangle up throughout this season. Here's King after it. Geez, strong, isn't he? He was able to brush that tackle aside and kick the ball inside the 50. Wine front spot. Carey did a good job at the back. Wine forced to get rid of it in a hurry. On the up, the handball by the new player for North Melbourne was Harvey getting involved. Wirra goes backwards, clever. Colin okay, gets to Dent, who's made a pretty good start here tonight. Dent wide, Ellis sure hands at halfback, was off. Bit lucky, takes the kick now.
And they seem to be getting numbers down there in defence. They're doing it well. They're being well coached at the moment by Terry Wallace. This is Luke Darcy, and I must be getting old, Brucey. I played against his dad, David. He was the champion fullback for Footscray. I've got to give him a mention every time the Western Bulldogs play now.
Good on you, Macca.
And there's David Round, and he's just looking pretty promising out there, Lee. Just little things he's doing.
Round's just going with McKernan. When McKernan comes up the field, Round goes with him, and Scott Wine is just dropping back to half-back. Mark Roberts is effectively his direct opponent, if we are to sort of name one.
Well, he looks like a chip off the old block, and there's Anthony Rock, and look at the pace. It's coming out for North Melbourne there. That was King, of course. Towards half forward, Ramiro hooks it back, taken away by Colinook. In an unfamiliar role, he brings it in towards the half forward line. Mitten Connell, good play to get in front and arch the back. Here's Laidley, gets it off to Stevens, and now on to Mickey Martin.
Martin short, good kick, gets to Carey centre wing. Carey booming kick. Wine getting back to fill the hole, well played. Brings it to ground. Wirra, Ellis almost got in his road. Dent to mop up. Kicks okay, wide to Cox. Cox goes short to Croft. Notice a moment ago, both Hargraves and Watts on the interchange for the Western Bulldogs. Two of their big goal kickers last year. Here's Allen. He's only played a little bit of footy. He's at half-back centre wing. Kicks the ball towards Hudson. Well done, King to Pike. Pike goes for distance. High ball by Pike to centre wing. Big fly at the back there. Came from Stevens. Ellis chips away cleverly to Ramiro. Ramiro. Goal's hard to get in the second term. McKernan, the back, doesn't miss those too often. Longmire in the front. Handball by Hudson, cut off. Gets a second chance. Handball again under pressure. Taken by Smith. Has to get rid of it in a hurry. Going back, Harvey kept his eye on it. Rock against the tide. Breaks one tackle. Gets a high one. Gets a free kick at centre half back.
Well, there's a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure on out here.
When in low, if you go in low, there's always a fair chance you'll be tackled high, and Rock will certainly put the head down and go at it.
Mark Roberts chips it in short. He finds John Blakey. A lot of good utility plays. He's caught, just gets his boot to it before he was pinged, and the mark has been taken by Robert Scott, former Geelong Rover. Slotted in well into this North Melbourne side. Carey under enormous pressure down there. Wine getting into lender hand, and then there's Scott West towards centre wing. It's thumped away. Blakey over to Laidley. Laidley breaks the tackle. North go forward again with a high bomb in towards the pocket. Not a good kick by Dean Laidley, but Footscray Lee doing very well in defence.
Well, I think what you find is that North Melbourne really kicked the ball to that spot somewhere between the full forward line and the true centre half forward position, and Scott Wine is just dropping back into that slot, and at the moment he's pretty much the North Melbourne players are often kicking the ball straight to him.
Brad Johnson looked like he might have had an eye injury there. Carey snap from the pocket under pressure. Behind 3-3 to 4-1. There's Johnson. Just copped maybe a finger in the eye. So Carey with that point. Cameron to kick it in for the Bulldogs.
It's important, Bruce, that all these players stand up with injury. The guys last year like Croft and Cameron, Scott West was out for a long period, so they need those guys on the side.
And a couple that are not there tonight, Southern and Chris Grant.
Yeah.
Short, Collinuk, half back, Croft the target. Good fly at the back. Front man, though. Gee, Blakey, they're going to take it off him and give it to Croft.
I agree with that one. I really think that Croft did have the ball first.
Croft's kick to centre wing. Never going to argue with a bloke like you, John, an umpiring decision, I can promise you. McKernan's kick to centre half forward. Wine, Carey, outnumbered Carey. West now outnumbered. There are three Kangaroos all around him. Well played by Cox. Had it taken away by Roberts. Little handball out by Harvey. Smith was over the top. back to Laidley. That coming from Simpson. Laidley's kicked to centre half forward. Allison is fantastic in this situation. Long odds on the goal and does. North in front.
Well, we know North, they won't kick the ball to the forward flanks of the forward pockets. They will kick the ball into the centre corridor all the time going forward. And at the moment, quite often in the marking contest, the Footscray players are outnumbering them. But it's still, if the ball does come to the ground and it drops into the hands of one of those ground level players like Ellison, well, he's got the goal open to him. And it's that kind of percentage play that I think hallmarks North's ability to score quickly.
North Melbourne in front by 2 points after that great opportunist goal by Brett Allison, and we come to expect that of him. Now, the umpire sensibly letting that go, that ruck contest, but really, I'd say Lee Winder's been on top there at the centre bounces.
Well, I think he'd want to be, because that's the strength of his game, Scott Winder. I mean, he's a tap ruckman, essentially. Doesn't mark the ball hoops around the ground, but he is blocking up a North Melbourne half-forward line, but certainly centre bounce ruck works very good.
We saw a shot of Stuart Anderson, maybe about to come on the ground. There's Stevens, well, he's poleaxed. Quick little kick come down toward Cameron. Play on, you can hear, but Anthony Stevens burrows in. A hurry kick to half-forward. Markers dropped by Wirra. This could be costly because Carey latches onto it, hooks it back at goal, and he kicks another behind. But a costly drop mark there by Brad Wirra, but he is playing well. Feel a bit sorry for Carey. Every time it's been down there, Lee, there's been 3 big fellas coming across him.
Well, that's the predictability. You know that North are going to go to Carey, and really the Footscray players are leaving their opponents to make sure that he's outnumbered in the marking contest, not just leaving it to his direct opponent, Croft.
Short to Collingwood for the second time in this term. McKernan, who has been in a bit of pain in the last minute or two. He just copped one accidentally a moment ago. Long knife back to Pike. Pike's kick to half forward. Wirra, West. Good accurate play under pressure by the Bulldogs as Dent goes wide to Cox. Cox has been impressive in pre-season matches. At half back, then kicks the ball a long way and kicks it pretty effectively, though Liver got a bad bounce. And then Rock just pushed him off. It was good play to King, who storms out of half back, chips towards centre wing, taken by Scholl. What a turnaround for him last year, a goal kicker last year after being such a defender for many seasons before that. Carey with terrific strength was able to come over the top of Cameron and take the mark. Terry Wallace, such a successful player at Hawthorn, and then at Footscray as it was, but Carey, just his mere presence, putting himself in the right position and taking the mark. Mike Sheehan from the Herald Sun does a ranking system, top 50 players at the start and end of each season, and Wayne Carey was right at the top, and that was released a couple of weeks ago. And it's pretty hard to argue that he's not the #1 player in the game as he kicks the goal. North doing well in the second term.
Yes, I don't think there's any doubt Carey is the #1 player in the game. He plays the hardest position at centre half forward, and what we see here tonight is Footscray are basically pushing 2 or 3 players back onto him whenever possible and just saying, well, if we can stop Carey getting too much of the ball, we're going to be in the game. But when he charges at his marks like he did then and launches himself at them, and a good accurate kick, he doesn't lose many chances to kick goals.
So Denis Pagan looking on, and a former star player Mark Dawson with him. 6.5 minutes to go until half-time, a vital 6.5 minutes as far as the Western Bulldogs are concerned. North just starting to get their game going now. Here they go again. Armstrong, beautiful tap by McKernan. Danger area, it's thumped the ground. The Bulldogs desperate as Wirra grabs it in, and the umpire allows him. The North players remonstrating, thinking he was holding the ball.
When everyone holds their breath, isn't it? Waiting to see what's going to happen. Great intrigue in those situations.
I would have been screaming for pushing the back.
Wind, Roberts, Wind takes it out of the air. Handball away, missed the body. Hudson in defence, pushed in the back. We'll get it against Harvey. You wouldn't recognise Hudson if you saw a photo of him in his first couple of seasons with the blonde locks. And now Scott judged it well. Had a fantastic year last year in his premiership season, to being involved in a number of grand finals at Geelong. Kicks to centre half forward. Ellis against Carey wins it to Montgomery. First time we've seen him get a touch. Good to see him playing. Was a best and fairest at Springvale a couple of years ago, and had a good year last year on the sup list for Footscray as it was. And Archer away from Hargraves.
But he actually won their reserves best and fairest last year, Bruce, so he's done well.
So between centre wing and half forward, Chris Grant, speaking of best and fairest, a couple of times at Footscray.
Well, a magnificent player, Grant. Probably the best centre back in the competition. And here's Luke Darcy, who looks like he's going to be a very promising player. As he drives it long and low, Mitten Connell read that well. Beautiful judgment as he just stuck back behind Mickey Martin, really outpositioned him. So Mitten Connell on a pretty tough customer.
It was just good judgment, just eased Martin under the ball, just read the flight a little better, and really good judgment, good falling mark.
So Simon Mitten Connell kicking for his second. And he could make a big difference to this Footscray forward line. They've needed a taller forward up there who can kick some goals. He's from 50 metres. It won't quite make the distance. The Flyers are there. Or free kick to Harvey, maybe. No. As the hand pass comes back. Is that Hudson having a pot shot at goal? It's close. It's a behind. And it was Paul Hudson in that pack.
So 1-2 to Hudson, 4-2 to the Bulldogs. Kangaroos 5-4. Laidley to bring it in, just to himself. Then Chips, and had a couple of options. Pike to Rock. Rock belts the ball back into the centre. Mark taken by Anderson. It's going to take Darcy on. Gets around him, kicks it beautifully to McKernan. Under pressure though in the end. It's good defensive work there by Young Round. Kick away by Cox, taken by Minton Connell, who's come up the ground because probably following Big Mickey. Goes over the top to Cox, clever and with confidence, and then belts the ball to the pocket. Wind there with Roberts, goes to Liberatore. Liber from the pocket and kicks it behind. Liber starting on the interchange bench.
But he looked across, Bruce, he wanted to centre it, there was no one there.
And not all that far away in the end, was it, from Liberatore? Brownlow medalist along with Scott Wine in the 90s for the Bulldogs. Missed by Armstrong. Belted out. Blakey goes off the ground. Open space for the moment.
Centre wing Anderson was pushed in the back. Umpire didn't think so. Anderson cleverly did it well to Armstrong, on to Blakey. Inside it goes to Pike. This is good backing up. Back to Armstrong, who brings it in towards Carey. He's surrounded by the Bulldogs players. Over it goes with a handball to Cameron, who's doing well. Cameron brings it back to the centre. That was a great kick to Ellis, who's also playing a good game. Under pressure, probably shouldn't have played on them, but he goes in again, Ellis. Well played on to Collinook, who overran it. Socket off the ground by Laidley, out towards the boundary line. This is a good game of football, and the Western Bulldogs taking it right up to this very good North Melbourne side.
Peter Bell coming on for the interchange, 4 interchange in this competition, the Ansett Cup. And going off the ground is Brent Harvey. Well played by Scott. Then in the end the kick was smothered. Bell back to Pike, getting a few touches. He got a lot of those at Fitzroy last year. Scholl towards the line. It went out. Croft hip and shoulder. Boundary throw in.
Just got a great ability to find the ball, Pike. 11 possessions to midway through the second quarter. It was a very high possession winner for Fitzroy last year.
5-4-4-3. Carey the front spot, Darcy at the back, pushes the ball towards the boundary line and out of play. Stevens, there's the North Melbourne bench. Capuano closest to us, Harvey furthest away, Stevens there. Shot from the lightship, which has been a feature of this pre-season Ansett Cup competition. And in the grand final last year, there's Cameron taking a deep breath along with Stevens with him. So again a throw in. North are 7 points in front. Bulldogs will want to hang on here into the breeze before half time. Croft, well played to West, under pressure. North's tackling was great last year and good again now. Bell, clever kick. McKernan, fantastic mark. It's a good kick by Bell. Centering kick it away under great pressure. And Round's going to get a 50 against him, and McKernan will come up and kick from point blank. It's a very good mark by McKernan.
Yes, it was. I mean, Bell was able to put the ball so that McKernan was, and he kicks the goal. Yes, Bell was able to put the ball so that McKernan had the sit on Round. He was just able to lean into Round and then really just use Round's weight to come back and the chest mark. I didn't see, here we see it here. He's got him cold, just holds him out, good chest mark. I think it must have been just a bit of aggressiveness there that caused the 50-metre penalty.
Back to the centre, North getting on top here. Well, he got 50 metres. I didn't think it should have been 50 metres. Just a bit of a normal thing.
Did look a bit soft, Peter.
Yeah,
50 metres supposed to cause an undue delay, and it didn't seem to be an undue delay there.
I think he might have kicked it anyway, but there's McKernan down towards half forward, thumped away. Brad Johnson, a quick kick to half forward. The mark taken by Stuart Anderson. He brings it into centre wing. Taken by Cameron, who looks good. Brings it out towards half forward. Here's Peter Quill on the ground. He had an outstanding season last year. Onto his left. Brings it back. They could do with a goal here, and the mark has been taken by Daniel Hargraves. And one thing he can do is kick a ball. He's a long kick, but he's got the acute angle here to contend with. Look at that left thigh, heavily strapped. So, and
Quill really, we see down the field that Hargrave made the space. The thing is, he had to come out wide. It's something you'll never find with North Melbourne. They'll always be making a lead or position back in the centre corridor. So he's got the kick, Hargraves, but it's a reasonably difficult angle.
So an important kick coming up as he drives at a goal. It bends back, it's a goal.
Since we've spoken about young David Round, who's basically following Corey McKernan everywhere, a big assignment for your first senior game of AFL football, everywhere except the ruck situation where Wind or Darcy. But really a good finish then off by Quill. I mean, good on his left side. And it was a good conversion. It wasn't an easy shot from that part of the ground.
A handy one too for the Bulldogs. 6-4-5-3. So closing goal there by the Western Bulldogs through Hargraves. Getting towards half-time. McKernan, good tap. Blakey, who's done a good job on Smith here in the second term. Ramiro and Bell got caught underneath it. Rock had to concede, but good handball. Allison chips away. Scholes onto it. Stretch couldn't quite take it. Ramiro has a bit of time. Handball out wide. Good. Gets to West. West got a couple of players running with him. Decides to kick it to centre wing. Bounce important. Taken by Hudson. Okay, Smith. Well played. Bit of David King about him as he bursts his way through and kicks towards Ellis. Lovely mark. Terrific stretch. Handball to Minton Connell, who was flat-footed when the handball got to him. In trouble. Was he legged in the end, or was it holding the ball? Play on's the call. Martin off the ground. Favourable bounce came towards Allison. So neat and tidy, Allison. Kicks the ball towards half forward. Front spot Dent. Taken off him by Scholl. Inside to Scott. Kicked a lot of goals at Geelong. Not so many for ratio at North, but the kick towards the goal square. And Bell has taken a clever mark. Impact player, Bell.
Just interesting, that one with Simon Minton-Connell, Bruce. I don't think anybody actually tackled him. He just bounced off the two opponents and ended up getting a little handball out. So can't be penalised for holding the ball if nobody tackles him.
Bell, from about 12 metres out, kicks the goal. Is there a better feeling in football, Lee, to kick a goal when the siren goes and you go in at half-time?
It's pretty good, yeah. Particularly, I mean, North really had a very good quarter. They've got the 13-point lead. Footscray are trying hard. They're blocking North Melbourne up in defence, but really, they've only really got into their forward 50, I would think, 2 or 3 times for that quarter. Their scoring has really dried up.
Scholl looking a little proppy there, maybe.
M.
Hi, I'm Dermot Breton from Melbourne's all-new Triple M. Want to win a trip to see your team play interstate? Here's all you have to do. Find the Triple M Ansett Cup person in the crowd tonight and say, Triple M rocks the Ansett Cup. You could win 2 return Ansett flights to see your team play interstate. And don't forget to look for the coupon in the footy record to see how you and 5 friends can join Eddie and me at the Ansett Cup Grand Final. And a reminder, for a kick-by-kick call of the AFL, listen to Melbourne's all-new Triple M.
Triple M.
It's snack time.
It's snack time in Australia.
It's snack time. It's snack time now. It's snack time. It's snack time now. Everyone around the world is saying the world. It's why everyone around the world is saying it's snack time now. Everyone around the world is saying the world. It's why everyone around the world is saying.
Western Bulldogs really mean business.
It's time for the West to win. It's time, boys. It's time now. It's time for the West to get up and win. Join the power of the West.
Magnum. It's bliss.
I'm in a world of my own.
Pure luxury. That first bite. Oh, the chocolate cracks. My heart melts.
I have to have one now.
Nothing compares to Magnum. Perfection.
Ecstasy.
Passionate. Yeah, I'm hooked. It's all mine.
Hop. Skip. Jump. Join. Real kangaroos. Hop, skip, jump, and join. Be a member in 1997. Phone 9326 8666.
skills work with the Western Bulldogs. Terry Wallace bringing him back. I think he won the best and fairest in the year that Liver got the Brownlow medal.
And a lot of people forget he was a former Fitzroy player too. There's Craig Scholl in the background, obviously with a back problem. But Peter Foster and Steve McPherson, a couple of rough and tough ex-Footscray players. Very good mark, Peter Foster.
About to start the second half of this opening round match in the Ansett Cup. North Melbourne going to the right of screen into the breeze. Leads 7-4 to 5-3. Wind and McKernan. There you go, Lee, you're dead right. West handball. Ellison, Scott, Ramiro. Got a couple of high tackles that look. One from McKernan, the bump, and then the second one by Scott, no free kick, and again a bounce.
John and I were talking about at half-time. The ruckman try to read the umpire's bounce. They try to get a bit of an idea where an umpire predicted will bounce the ball. As John was saying, normally it will bounce slightly away from the umpire.
So a bit of a do on up the ground in the Western Bulldogs forward area. That's about 40 metres from their goal as play goes on. Scott West gets a quick kick away towards Hudson at centre wing. The goal in the opening term, plays on, kicks the ball to half forward. Minton Connell read it well. So those cousins have combined a couple of times tonight.
He's actually surprisingly strong in those body-to-body duels. I mean, Mick Martin is one of the stronger body players, I would think, in the competition, but just a couple of times tonight, Minton Connell has just been able to... So it was nice, really, he just read the ball better then, didn't he? I thought from a distance that it was a good body use, but his just ability to know the flight of the ball and read it has earned him, well, his fourth mark for the game.
And from the Bulldogs' point of view, hopefully a second goal. Kick from about 40 metres. Looks good off the boot, but just that little hook. He might have been a bit careful with it in the end. 7-4, 5-4. Without being too harsh, I guess they're the ones you get paid to kick as a full forward.
Yes, yeah. And there's another great shot from the lightship. The short pass in. Laidley receives from Mark Roberts. Back it comes to Stevens. On to Archer. Oh, chipping in well was Hargraves. Well done by Wine. Back to West, who's doing very well, Scott West. They need a mark here. The ball will hit the ground. Where are the swoopers? They're all north there as Anthony Rock kicks it to the wide open spaces. Here's Armstrong, and he'll take it over the line, no doubt, because he knew Luke Darcy was hot in his hammer. Matty Armstrong, former Fitzroy player, numerous Fitzroy players, ex-Fitzroy players playing there tonight. Longmire easing himself into this game. Darcy did well. Eventually it's Cameron. Yes, great goal on the left foot.
Well, yes, great goal by Leon Cameron. I mentioned before, I mean, he is a natural right foot kick, which is hard to understand sometimes because he so often kicks on his left side. That's how good he is on what was started off to be his non-dominant side as his football's developed. But really just the ability to put the ball across his boot, curve it in, and a great finish. And Footscray obviously needed that. They've certainly come out with a bit of sting as they started the game, and North have to weather this onslaught at the start of the third quarter.
And Lee, West to Cameron, two blokes who didn't play a lot of footy last year.
Yep. And
two best and fairest at the club over the years.
And what a great tap by Luke Darcy, Bruce.
Just the goal, the difference. Wine, but read well by Scott. Quill, Scott again with a smother, doing a lot of the little things. Wine's handball wide. Pike couldn't get through. West was on top of it. Then Anderson, and it's going to be a bounce at centre wing. 6-point margin. Winner of this match to play Richmond, who won last night in the quarter-final. That match will be played at this ground. 15-minute quarters plus time on for the first round matches in the Ansett Cup. Stevens' little kick. Allison, very sharp handball out wide. Anderson kept his cool, had a couple coming at him. Kicks to centre half forward. Good punch at the back by Croft. Allison brilliantly done and clever, in fact. Well marked by Cox. Allison probably unselfishly went for the short pass. He may have been able to kick the goal. Johnson gets hold of it. That Cox has got a bit of poise at the back, hasn't he? And Johnson finds Ellis at half back.
Craig Ellis is doing well. He's had 4 kicks, 9 marks and 7 handballs. McKernan couldn't hang on to it. There's Carey. Caught, gets in a hand pass, and over the line it goes for a throw in. And Carey with the big grin on the face as the crowd give him the raspberry.
That must have been right on the borderline. Carey's intention to me seemed to be to put the ball over the boundary line. We see it here. The umpire has to be satisfied what his sole objective was. In my opinion, his sole intention was to put the ball over the line.
Here's Scott West going in after it with Blakey. Look at the Footscray players. There were 5 of them there. Look at the skill of Cameron. Well played onto the left. Enormous evading skills there. In towards Darcy. Couldn't quite hang on to it. Ramiro looking for a hand pass and eventually scragged as he kicks it to half forward. King and Stevens are there. Oh, he's caught. That'll be holding the ball. He had every chance and he was collared there by Minton Connell. Gee, that was good by the full forward.
I think it was really pretty optimistic by Anthony Stevens. He played on in a situation where he was surrounded by Bulldogs players, and really sometimes you just got to go back. See, he played on really, and he just didn't have the space to do it.
Simon Minton Connell at full forward and right up in towards the centre of the ground. It's a good kick. He finds Jose Ramiro playing against his former club. He will kick from 50 metres with the breeze at his back. And boy, if he can kick this, it'll make it a real contest. They're doing well, the Western Bulldogs. Playing the Premier team, and they're really taking it up to them. An important kick coming up. He'll kick from right on the 50-metre line as he drives it low, just slightly across. The Flyers are there, off hands, one behind.
Hargraves was also trying to get on the end of it as we look at the interchange bench. A very strong kick, but Ramiro chipping in to take it. That's a light chip shot. See how short they've gone there to Stevens, and then back to Laidley, but good play in the end. And this is the important kick, I guess. Laidley to centre wing. Carey attacks, takes his man on, bounces, tackled, able to get a handball in. Dent, well played to West. It was good football. Inside trouble here. Hudson kept his cool. Brilliant handball under pressure. Croft on the run. Goes long. Hargraves at the back's got it. Just floated over Archer. And some good play there. Hudson keeping cool under pressure and finding the mark with a handball.
And he does enjoy getting the ball, Hargraves, doesn't he? Every time he gets the ball or has a shot at goal, you know how much he enjoys doing that. And Croft really kicked the ball long and just over the fingertips of Archer, and Hargraves really fell onto his chest.
Well, if he believes in himself, this young guy can take another step up. He's got so much talent. Could become a very important player in the game. Likes it again. So, Lee, a couple to Hargraves. Do you share my enthusiasm for him?
Well, I think he's one of those players who's done enough to think, yeah, he's a chance to go to the next level. He's certainly become a sort of reasonable league player. It's a question of whether he can become what is very difficult to be a consistent goal-kicking key position player. But he certainly plays with enthusiasm and plenty of life.
Daniel Hargraves has kicked 2, and the Western Bulldogs lead by a point, but they want a bigger lead than that by three-quarter time. They're kicking with the breeze. Certainly the scoring end, left of screen, as the bounce again is not straight. There's Scott. Hand pass over the top, taken by Carey. Carey, a clever hand pass. On to Stuart Anderson. Anderson to the full forward area. No mark to Blakey. Well played by Rowan Smith, who dives on the ball, and the umpire will come in and bounce it.
Just looking at his stats, Macca, Rowan Smith, Blakey's done a good job since quarter time. Still on 7 kicks.
Well, Blakey started on the bench, so they were forced into bringing. He's a very good stopper. Pagan could see the danger he was causing. As Ramiro brings it out of the pack, but waiting underneath it is Brett Allison. He swings onto that left foot of his and drives it long up to the full forward area. No mark. And Ramiro might take this through. No, he won't. He backs himself in, chips it across the ground and finds Dent.
In the back pocket, kicks the ball as far as he can. Montgomery outnumbered. Well done, but gave it up in the end to Anderson. Anderson's little chip. Scott at about 65 metres, kicks the ball in the direction of Rock, Wine front spot, Carey spoils, West against the flow, back to Ellis, keeping cool, the Bulldogs leading by a point, touches it on the ground, then goes to centre wing. Getting back there was Longmire. Left knee bandaged up, didn't play a game in the Premiership here last year. Such a fine player over a long period of time now. Kicks to centre half forward. West read it well. He's having a good match. Delivers towards centre wing. Hudson out of play. King coming in late. Boundary throwing.
Interesting knowing your teammates. Longmire, when he took that mark, Martin Pike had made position out on the boundary line. He was 15 metres clear, but North don't kick it out wide. And Longmire went towards centre half forward where they're always going to go. Pike will learn that there's no point making space out towards the boundary. You're not going to get the ball.
So North Melbourne's last score, 22-minute mark of the second term. Here's Longmire, can't get his boot to it. Number 22, you see there is Peter Quill. And oh, they're hopping into it here. Martin Pike having plenty to say. Ellis, Craig Ellis and West, there's a lot of feeling. David King's there. Well, he's a Port Melbourne boy, so he won't mind that sort of stuff. Hudson takes the resultant free kick. Oh, almost a mark, not taken. Dean Lately mops up. Former Eagle brings it down towards centre wing, and Wirra read it well. No mark, said the umpire. Oh, look at the hands of McKernan. Oh, well done to Armstrong. Armstrong brings it in towards half forward. Cox is there, racing after to Stevens. Stevens is caught, breaks the tackle. Well played. Mark Stevens kicks a goal and has kicked it behind. Cox almost got him, the youngster. But a good contest, this scores dead set level.
How's that McKernan pick up off the ground? I mean, terrific ground level skills for a tall player. Scooped it up.
Longmire there, just maybe we were imagining it, but we're walking with a slight limp. Smith goes out wide. Longmire, Darcy, tackle on Darcy was effective. Had to kick the ball up there. That tackle coming from Pike and a boundary throw in. There's Longmire.
It's interesting at the moment, there's only 3 pairs of players forward of centre. Every Footscray are really pushing their players back in defence and blocking the North Melbourne forward line, just trying to run it out.
Wine, Capuano, builded forward by Scott. And again, a boundary throw in. North edging forward into the breeze. Scores level. Great shot there from the lightship, showing you the congregation of players inside the 50 for North Melbourne at the moment. Plenty of open spaces when you look from that angle, isn't there, on this vast ground that has been shortened in recent years. Rock's quick kick, Cox and Pike cutting it off out of play.
And the ground is in magnificent condition, and of course aided by the fact there are no cricket pitches on it. And there's Danny Southern. There's another player that would be have a look at that for a haircut, Lee. So 30 metres around from the North Melbourne goal. They really have bottled it up, got numbers back in defence. But here's David King snapping onto it, kicks a goal. He's kicked it.
Isn't that interesting? David Rounds is believing he touched it with his fingertips, but really when the ball is touched, you know, with it doesn't make any impact on the bounce, it's very tough for the goal umpires. I go with it often. I think there's a lot of slightly touched balls that end up playing paid goals, because you just can't really be sure they were touched.
I think there are a lot of balls that aren't touched where defenders say they did touch them too, Lee.
I suppose, yeah, maybe so.
North back in front, that goal from King. 6-point margin, 8-5 to 7-5. McKernan, Wine, McKernan winning it. West off the ground, out wide. Dent after it with Anderson. Running it towards the boundary. Dent goes to ground, Anderson falls over the top. Dent brings it back in, goes to West. It's had over 20 possessions. Hudson from centre wing. Played a lot of footy out at Waverley in the last few years with Hawthorn, but Mickey Martin able to take the mark in the back pocket. What a great character he is. Won the tuck medal here, is the best on the ground in the night premiership 2 years ago against Adelaide. Kicks the ball to half-back, McKernan the target. Quick kick by King. Rolls it to centre wing, Cameron's got it. On the right foot, back to half-forward, over the top. Montgomery read it pretty well, but Martin and Minton Connell Mickey claiming the fact that he touched it, belted it over the line with that smother, and a boundary throw-in. There's Montgomery, Brett Montgomery, who tonight is playing his first match at this level. Mark Roberts looking forward there, 31 years of age. What a terrific player he has been, particularly at North Melbourne after being in Brisbane and Sydney prior to that. Quick kick by King, not going very far. Mark taken by Hudson, and is Capuano in trouble. Remember, he had a bad knee a couple of years ago.
Well, let's hope that is not a knee injury. They're calling for the stretcher. There's the kick by Hudson. Hargraves is there, over the back. Mitten Connell a chance, but desperation there by Archer to force it to the line, and there's Matthew Capuano and holding the knee, and that does not look good. Something we hate seeing. We've seen plenty of it in recent years. There's a kick, a goal by Darcy. Oh, brilliant goal. So the Western Bulldogs doing well, but there's a sad side. Matthew Capuano down, scores a level, but they'll have to stop the game and bring out the stretcher.
The stretcher tactics these days are interesting. I mean, of course, as soon as you run the stretcher on the ground and there's a break in play, the umpires will stop the play, and the player, once he's off, has to stay off for 20 minutes. But I must say, as soon as it looks like a player is down for the count, you're a man short, and I would think you should be getting the stretcher out on the ground straight away. And basically, North Melbourne didn't get the stretcher out, and they were one man short. May not have made the difference. Yes, that looks like a left knee that buckled a bit, didn't it?
Well, I bet you Denis Pagan has got his heart in his mouth right now. Capuano, important last year, wasn't he, in that premiership year? Particularly with another tool injured all year in Longmire. Had a very bad knee injury in 1995. Young man, it's taken a while to develop, but all the signs have been there that he's going to have a very, very profitable career in AFL footy, and without being a doomsday, this doesn't look good for the kid right now as he's being carried off. It's Denis Pagan on the phone, and
it's Tony Elshaw up the back.
And so many top players have had knee injuries in recent years. Long, Dunstall, Jakovic, Wren, all trying to come back. Longmire here.
There's such innocent-looking actions. I mean, if a player falls across your knee and your foot gets anchored, and therefore there's a body weight going across, you can understand that. This is really just the foot going down awkwardly and just buckling. Just the body contact. Fairly, what you would say is insignificant contact, but one would hope that it's not as serious as it looks from what we've just seen.
I wonder how John Longmire feels right now. I mean, Chris Groom last year being injured at training after rehabilitating himself, and what must go through players' minds who have done a similar injury.
That left knee as it plants, the left knee plants and comes inwards, which the knee doesn't bend in that way.
Retrospectively, it keeps looking worse, doesn't it, right now? 8-5 to 8-5, so scores level after the Darcy goal. We're all thinking for Capuano right now. Quill out of the centre, kicks the ball to centre half forward. Martin attacks, free kick over the shoulder. You heard the call, and Mickey Martin to get Glenn Archer to get the free kick. So much to like about the way Archer plays his football. Wide to Longmire, inside to Pike. Pike measures the kick to centre wing and gets some distance to Wine trying to get back. We're beaten by the speed of the bounce and then belts towards the line. And has he found it? Yes, boundary throw-in.
Well, that was good play by Wirra because he knew there were two North Melbourne players right in his hammer.
It's very good. Scott Wine is just dropping back into the Carey marking contest all the time. And Mark Roberts, I would think North should be trying to use Mark Roberts because he's Scott Wine's direct opponent, certainly not being manned up.
Anthony Stevens to the pocket and unable to take the mark there was Mark Stevens. I mean, good contest down there with Simon Cox. I've been really impressed with him. Only a young player on the left of screen, came through the under-18 competition, and so this throw-in from the lights. Look at the umpire positioning himself at the front of the pack there, and they can see everything that's going on. There's Quill going to ground. He might be holding the ball, was it? Or was it too high?
Too high, Peter.
Too high. So Peter Quill, as I said earlier in the telecast, he had an outstanding year last year. In fact, I must have seen them on his really good games. He got numerous BOGs last year. Here's Cox again. Very, very impressive. On to Dent, and he's going to help this side also. Matthew Dent drives it long to the half-forward line. Croft came across the front. The big thump, though, comes to the open spaces. Grabbed by West is doing particularly well. Further afield it comes. Ramiro, what can they do here? Here's Hudson from a set shot, 30 metres. It bends back, it's a goal, and he is very happy.
Yes, we've said many times how Paul Hudson, if he gets a chance to finish, he usually does. He's a very, very poised player inside that forward 50-metre area, having a run on the ball tonight as well. But it's just hard to tell how much the wind's affecting this game. Certainly all the scoring has been down that left of screen, and Dipper told us there's a reasonable breeze blowing in that direction, but Footscray are certainly serving it up.
From above the line chip of the bounce here, the Bulldogs by a goal. Scoring being none to the left of screen. They'd want another one, at least. They led at quarter time by 5 points, but trailed by 13 at half time.
We mentioned before how much Footscray getting their players back. Just at this centre bounce here, they've only got 3 players forward to centre. They're really pushing all their players up the field and trying just to charge back with the flight of the ball.
12 of the 17 goals have been kicked left of screen, so 12 to 5, so it's a big advantage. Smith from centre wing after a bounce or two goes to centre half forward. Hargraves, Martin, there was Allen, well played. Mickey gets it to Rock. Rock out wider still to Pike, who's playing that link role effectively tonight. Carey, oh, well played. Strong, took it well at half forward, goes to the pocket. Stevens on a lead. Cox, good defence. Got the fist right there at the right time. And Ellis and Stevens out of play. Right forward pocket. Timing's so important for a defender. Minson Connell, closest to screen. Kicked the early goal for the Bulldogs.
Well, if young Cox can make a fullback, it'll make a huge difference. Also, Stephen Crediuk had a lot of hamstring troubles. He's their normal fullback, probably a little bit short too. He'd be about 6'1". Cox would be 6'3". There's Wine, McKernan. This is a real contest now. They could sneak another 1 or 2 before three-quarter time. Make it difficult for North. Stevens going in hard as usual. And look at the Footscray players charging in. Young Round was there. And Rowan Smith, one of the quickest players in the competition. He also had a very good year last year. 6 points the margin. Western Bulldogs in front, but it's inside North Melbourne's 50. McKernan and Wind. Scott Wine trying to barge through, gets his boot to it, travels about 2 inches, and they lock it in there and the umpire will bounce it again, but still inside 50.
It's been extremely effective, Scott Wine, hasn't he? He just blocked up that North Melbourne half-forward line. He's rucked fairly well. He's had 11 hand passes, so he's 12 possessions in total. He's just making it very difficult for North to get through that preferred spot, centre corridor around centre half-forward.
So the bounce again wide. Here's Robert Scott on the left foot, bends it back. A beautiful kick towards the square, and it is not a mark by Longmire. Almost took it on the second bite, but it's a behind.
Coming forward, Longmire. 5 times the leading goal kicker at the club. But expected to play in defence for a lot of this year.
His Footscray opponent has come so far up the field that Longmire just followed him up, Bruce, and he's still effectively playing centre half back.
Ellis getting it short from Cameron at the back. He's got Wirra very short to his left. High ball to half back. McKernan and Wind going to ground. Ramiro. Smith got rid of the first, not so well the second. Croft, well played, runs away, under pressure on the left, might get a free kick here for a little push.
The push definitely had an effect on the kick then, so that's a great call.
So Harvey on the mark, Dent getting it, runs his full measure. Clever kick actually. Ellis out of play. So from one side to the other, Western Bulldogs held up by some good defence by North Melbourne there. They're unable to penetrate. There's Craig Scholl. in shot there, came off the ground just before half-time with what could be a lower back injury.
So still at that 50-metre mark. McKernan a hurry kick and it floats over the line and out on the full. Simon Cox to bring it back in. So again, as I said earlier, a product of that strong under-18 competition. Gee, it's producing some terrific players. McKernan used his body, and look at that big mitt went out and he hooked it in with the left hand, and now he'll go back for one of his prodigious kicks in towards half forward. The pack flies. It hits the deck. Look at Carey. Oh, he's a quick thinker. How about that? To David King, who kicks a goal. Great play by Carey. So King's kicked his second. North Melbourne lead by a point.
Great physical strength by Carey, wasn't? Grabbed the ball in the middle of the pack and was able to just to extricate himself. Just had the strength, the awareness. Looked one way, looked the other way. Footscray would have had probably 13, 14 players back in defence. North Melbourne had all those players with them, and King was one.
(9.695). King getting his second goal in this third term into the breeze, so that's been a handy contribution off that half-back flank. Carey setting it up with great skill and strength. McKernan and Wine able to stop the McKernan jump there. Hudson through the centre, off the ground, gets it well inside half forward now. Montgomery and Martin. Quill and Martin still in play. Mickey comes across from half-back, belts the ball to centre wing. Cameron gets set with West, they spoil each other. Scott read it beautifully like a typical Rover, and then kicks to Carey, who continues to get Rover stats, playing at centre half forward. Kicks the ball to that position now. Wind was there. Johnson almost lost it. Got a little kick, not far, not 10. You could hear the call. Play on. Umpire very distinctive there, giving the players every opportunity. Croft, handball back. Wirra took it low, took it pretty well. Forced to kick under pressure. Pike in the box seat against Allen. Allen just pressured him enough. Pike went to ground, wants the boundary line, could be in trouble. Bounces it.
That was very well done by Allen, because he was running with the flight of the footy, and just as he got to Croft, he turned around and faced the ball, so it meant that the umpire wasn't going to penalise him.
Capuano, Dipper, any report?
He's in the rooms, Bruce. Unfortunately, it is a knee injury. It's the opposite knee to the last injury he had there, but the extent of it, the doctors don't know at this stage.
Thanks, Dipper. Fingers crossed there for Matthew Capuano. McKernan trying to come through, and Skill comes through. Courage there by Dent, getting his fingers burned. Smith's kick in the air, belted forward by Simpson. McKernan again. Scott busy, forces forward. Ellis, bouncing ball, and North has done a good job. Into the breeze, they've held their ground and hold a 1-point lead at three-quarter time, 9.695.
This game has a little of the look of last night's game, where Hawthorn tried so hard, but Richmond just had that little bit extra talent. But it really may come down to a question of fitness. The breeze was favouring North in this last quarter, but they're running pretty well, Footscray, and it's a question of whether North can pick them up.
So three-quarter time, the Kangaroos over the Bulldogs, 60-59.
It's snack time in Australia. It's snack time. It's snack time now. It's snack time. It's snack time now. Everyone
Western Bulldogs really mean business.
It's time for the West to win. It's time, boys. It's time now. It's time for the West to get up and win. Join the power of the West.
Magnum. It's bliss.
I'm in a world of my own.
Pure luxury. That first bite. Oh, the chocolate cracks. My heart melts.
I have to have one now.
Nothing compares to Magnum. Perfection.
Ecstasy.
Passionate. Yeah, I'm hooked. It's all mine.
Hop. Skip. Jump. Join. Real kangaroos. Hop, skip, jump, and join. Be a member in 1997. Phone 9326 8666.
Wayne Schwass there with Robert Dippy Domenico as we start the final term. North go to the left of screen. The scoring end tonight. Ramiro, first goal pretty important here. You'd think that the Bulldogs would have to get it to win. They fall a couple behind. It's going to be tough. King, those 2 goals in the third quarter important. Kicks the ball towards full forward. Juggling mark was a beauty. At the back there, under pressure by Smith. It's been a good duel since Blakey's been on Smith. Smith ran rampant in the early stages of the opening term. Hearing the call from the umpire, they're mic'd up for Ansett Cup games. Wine the target. Ball drifts to the back. McKernan. Such a wonderful player. Kicks the ball. Carey to Allison. Allison centering kick. Longmire. Can he kick a goal? Goes through his hands. Then tries to scoop it at the back. Cox. Left foot. Running away. Rock. Ramiro after him. Rock round the body. And out on the fall. Ramiro and Rocky, they would have known each other pretty well at North Melbourne over the years, probably fighting for the same place a couple of times in the team. And Rowan Smith now to kick it in. And
And one of the exciting players in the competition, Rowan Smith, brings it in towards Wind, almost grabbed it, didn't quite hang on to it, good umpiring. And you can hear the call of a ball up. And Libba still there with Steve Collinook and Scott Allen. And again, we see this ruck contest from up high. Wind coming against McKernan. A poor bounce again. McKernan gets it, but Wind did well to get his body in there. Leon Cameron dives on it and a ball up again. So this next 5 minutes vitally important as far as the Western Bulldogs are concerned. North kicking with the aid of the breeze. Big thump comes down towards half-court. Hudson put it on the ground. Socket away by Round. He's got West in support, and you can see the speed of Rowan Smith. There's not many players in the AFL could beat that fella to the ball.
9-6-9-5. Point the difference. Winner to go through to the quarterfinal and play Richmond. McKernan at the back, Round at the front, Scott onto it. Smith onto Scott, and again out of play. Over the shoulder against Robert Scott. Call coming through loud and clear there by the umpire. Kick towards centre wing. 22 bench moves for North, we're being told from Dipper, and just 9 for the Bulldogs tonight, so a difference there. And out of play. Umpires tonight, Marty Ellis, Keith Callahan and Andrew Malcolm. Harvey and Roberts, a couple of the interchange players for North. So his first goal still to come. Which way will it go as Simpson kicks it high to half forward?
Wirra underneath had a very good first term, Brad Wirra. He read that well, and they're packing themselves in. They're playing on at all costs, transferring play, and even big Scotty Wine has a bounce. Then he gives off a hand pass. He finds Cox, and he goes to the other side of the ground. This is Matthew Dent. He's deciding to come up the middle. Mickey Martin's there, and Martin has taken it. He's almost in the centre, and the North crowd love him. That funny-looking kicking style, but Scott White always should have marked that. He's underneath. It might cost them a goal because Allison swoops on the ball and puts it through.
Well, again, the marking error really by Scott White. He's sort of done a terrific job really blocking them up there, but that situation there where the fairly simple overhead mark went to ground, and Brett Allison was pretty good. Here we see here. Might be sweat on the hands, a little bit slippery, just to give him the excuse. But Allison always getting the predictable place at ground level, and a good finish.
Couple of goals to Allison, and North Melbourne edge away, 10-6-9-5. Scotty Wine, he'll be very keen to make a mark now. He's done pretty well tonight, but just missing that mark, and Allison swooping on it. The opportunist Allison. There's Simpson on the bottom. Played every match last year. Was a bit of a sleeper, wasn't he, in 1996? Didn't attract a lot of attention, but Denis Pagan liked him a lot, and he did the job. McKernan, inventive, to Blakey, to Armstrong. Armstrong chips away to full forward. Longmire there, going to the ball with Cox. Well played, brings it back to Carey. Carey's handball back to Allison. Cut off there well by Liver. He's had just a couple of cameo appearances tonight. Here's Croft. Looks good when he comes away, but kick smothered by Anderson. Taken by Quill. Quill's kicked to half forward. Hargraves couldn't take it. Martin got back. Hudson missed it. Martin's handball okay. To Rock. To Martin. Loves this situation, Mickey. Pushes it across to Laidley. They're playing with confidence, the premiers in the Coca-Cola season last year. And Laidley brings it out to King, who'll sit and wait and take the mark. At halfback, David King.
So the pacey David King, he's got a loose man here at halfback. It's Stuart Anderson. In towards halfback. Oh, reading that very, very well was young Round. David Round, well done. As he brings it wide, and he finds Luke Darcy. So Darcy way out at half forward. Oh, that is a good kick. That is a beautiful kick. He pretended to kick to the centre and then swung it back as the mark has been taken by Brett Montgomery. It'll be a very difficult shot for goal from this angle and the breeze. It'll be a real bonus if he could thread this one through, but clever kick by Darcy. Brett Montgomery, oh, that's not a bad looking kick. Will it swing back? Will it clear the pack? No, it's stumped on its way by McKernan and Mick Martin. It wasn't a bad kick actually from there as Denis Pagan, the premiership coach, looks on with Mark Dawson.
There's Hargraves and King with Martin a moment or two ago as North comes out of defence leading by a goal. Carey read it well, Croft with him, Longmire, good evasion, kicks from 60, not bad off the boot, Archer in the pocket takes the mark. Such an explosive player, Archer's been at one end of the ground most of the night, but we've seen so often that he's able to go forward and kick goals. A hard man to match up at either end. He's going to have to come back over the mark, I think.
You could actually hear the umpire calling him around from very early on then, but Glenn Archer obviously keen to go and wasn't listening, so he played on from a line other than his line of kick.
A hard unit, isn't he, Archer? Can he kick the check side goal? Tries for it. Across the face, behind.
Interesting sort of tactical battle going on. David Round's immediately picking up McKernan's after the centre bounce, and Scott White has got a opponent. I think it might be Adam Simpson, or maybe it's Mark Roberts who's just come onto the ground now, but that particular player can't get the ball for North Melbourne, and Wind is able to block up that centre half back position, but that spare North player, he has to be able to get into the game to use the value of being free.
Now, Rowan Smith receives that kick in from Leon Cameron. Gee, we see that a lot now, the short kick in from full back. Here's Round at the back. Couldn't take it. Liberatore gets it to Scott West. They could do with a goal in this parade forward. Strong play by Anderson. Very, very strong. Mark Stevens, the centre wing, finds King. There's a wide open spaces and he's very quick, King. Look at him go. Another couple of bounces. Then, cleverly done. Beautiful football to Mark Roberts, where he races into goal. And that is champagne football by North.
Yes, well, Mark Roberts, I mentioned that situation. I've got a feeling he might be that player. He was on the bench and he's come back on the ground at trying to get that spare play. That's the first time North have been able to use the spare player coming through that's created by that Wind, McKernan Round situation. Had plenty of space, Roberts, and then good finish.
Bulldogs coach, Terry Wallace. What a great play by King there. 11-7-9-6. Shot from the lightship as see the centre bounce. King going off to the side, McKernan. Round got the handball out to West. Taken by Hudson, a long way from goal though. One bounce, runs his full distance. Good kick to Minton Connell, but they're still probably outside the scoring zone. Minton Connell keeps it low. Hudson got past him and his opponent. Liberatore can't break through. It's going to be a bounce. So I wonder if the umpires and their coaches, John, might use that lightship to have a look at the bouncing tonight.
Well, the one thing that is over the ball as the umpire bounces, it's his head, so he probably doesn't want it to go too straight.
Good point. West. Be awful if you had a big one. West kick outside 50. Oh, good mark by Stevens at the back. North looking good, the goods. Rock. Shouldn't look too far ahead, but North versus Richmond's got a nice sound to it, hasn't it, in the quarter-final?
So Anthony Rock to the half-forward line. Oh, good mark. The top mark by Carey with two Footscray players coming at him. And then immediately gets on with the game and brings it down to Longmire, who couldn't mark. Johnson gets in a quick hand pass. Hand pass comes across to King for his third. That was good play by Archer. And he's not happy with himself because he normally snaffles those, David King.
Yes, he's actually become pretty good running halfback. King, but here's the strength, the 2-on-1 situation, and gets the front position, so strong out in front. Hasn't dominated the game. He's basically been triple teamed, I think, more than double teamed. Footscray know that North are going to go to Carey, and they're just getting players across. But he's been good enough to still get a bit of it.
14 points the margin in favour of North Melbourne as Cameron drives it long. Wine hangs on to this one, immediately plays on to Brad Johnson. He looks like he might have a run. One bounce, will he back himself again? Yes, he will. 2, 3. And now he drives it long. They need a goal, they need a mark here. It's punched down by Martin. Hudson goes in. Oh, Martin tried to crash his way through. Around the corner goes Montgomery. Minton Connell is there. Stevens smothered away. Minton Connell again gets in a hand pass. Enormous tackling down there as little Libber goes in after it. On the left foot goes Libber. The bounce just misses.
Gee, Ramiro there. It's an injury by the look of it, and they may be calling for a stretcher, but just trying to pick up the player, guys.
It's Laidley.
Shoulder.
Laidley went in low, and it was either, well, it looks like it might be shoulder the way he's holding it. It was just one of those ground level balls that he went hard at, and the Footscray players caught him awkwardly here. It's one of those desperate situations that Laidley has no choice but to go, but the shoulder's just been dealt a nasty blow.
Lee, as we go down to Dipper, Anthony Stevens, Dipper.
Yeah, he came off the ground about 5 minutes ago, Bruce. It looks like I got a fairly heavy knock to his injured knee, which injured, a year or so ago. And nothing too bad at this stage. So North Melbourne at the moment, they've got a few wounded on the bench.
Yeah, Scholl, Stevens, Capuano could be serious, hopefully not. Laidley going off. So Lee...
They're 4 off.
I mean, obviously,
4 off,
yeah, obviously Laidley, as we have a look again with Simon Minton Connell, and almost looks like the shoulder pops out there. Laidley obviously wouldn't come back anyway, but doesn't look so good. But the 20-minute rule, if he was fit enough to come back, would see him out here, wouldn't it? Because
is it the 20-minute? I'm just thinking, is it 20 minutes even in the night series? That's a whole quarter, isn't it?
Basically? Yeah, it is 20 minutes in the home and away games, and obviously finals. But I'm not sure whether the rule has been changed for the night series, Lee.
Purely hypothetical, obviously, here, because Laidley wouldn't be in any position. What, Dipper, a further report from you?
Yes, Bruce, I can certainly tell you there's nothing left on the bench for North Melbourne, so if they do go down with injury, there's no one else to come on.
Yes, 22, so playing in a home and away situation, they'd be left with just 17 players at the moment, not the full 18 on the ground.
And Denis Pagan has been asked during the week why he was playing his top side in the night series, but then again he didn't want to mollycoddle them. Here's the hand pass coming across to Roberts. Now Martin Pike, best and fairest at Fitzroy. Over the back is Round, taken away by Wirra. On to Croft, who's a very underrated player in my opinion. Transfers play to Johnson. Johnson gives it off. Croft been very good, Simon Cox. Jose Ramiro, play on, you can hear, is the call from the umpire. Some good shepherding as Cox sweeps it wide to the running Johnson. He's an exciting young player. Will he bounce again? He runs to 50. He's got to kick it now. He tries to bend it back, and it drops short, and the mark has been taken up here in the pocket by Montgomery. Right in the boundary. The prop.
Just see if he thinks his way through this. He doesn't hurry himself. Just got to take his time.
Onto the left foot, I would say. No, the check side kick, and he might have threaded this through.
He has.
He has.
It was a very good kick, wasn't it? I mean, I think it's important when you're close in and those acute angles to really think your way through, and he sort of hurried himself a fraction, but once he decided what to do, it was a terrific check side kick to score, and he's been pretty quick off that wing, Johnson. And basically, the ball just dropped short. In the end of games, the ball is more often than not going to drop short. He just thought about it, out one step. Great execution.
That goal gives the Bulldogs a chance. 11-8, 10-7. North, injuries adding up, basically without anybody to come back on. There's Laidley on the bench with Scholl and Stevens. They're all injured by degrees, and Capuano down in the rooms. Liberatore to West, so a quick goal here would really liven this up. Cameron to Liberatore. Minton Connell, was it going to be a hard mark? Well tapped on. Hudson to kick the goal, and he has. Is it another kick? No, Hudson gets one, and this match is closed. Hudson with 3 goals, 11-8 to 11-7.
It's interesting setup. North Melbourne are really not allowing Footscray to have a spare guy in their forward line, and North have really been playing what you'd call a sort of 7, even 8-men forward line, and all the space has been in Footscray's half, and when they've been able to surge forward, there's been plenty of that space to run onto, and certainly plenty of football in this game, and if the Bulldogs just that bit fitter, they just might run the game out that bit stronger.
Luke Darcy on the boundary line, 1 point the margin when everyone here, there's Dean Laidley holding that shoulder with ice on it, but everyone probably think at three-quarter time that North would run away with this. Footscray taking it up to them. There's Cameron on the left foot, bending it back. If they could pinch another one here, but it's a good mark here taken by David King. King immediately plays on, gets it out to Mark Stevens. Stevens to their half-order. Carey, will he lift? That's a mark, I would think, or a free kick, one or the other.
The mark was paid, Peter.
The mark was paid as Carey drives it in. Ellis puts himself. Gee, he's been an excellent player, Lee.
He's done that so often tonight. The third man up, leaving his direct opponent and ruining the flight of the ball and marking. Done it very well.
Well, Croft dropped the sitter, just put himself under a bit of pressure. Here's Luke Darcy, or that could be holding the ball. Umpire Deemy, he must have got a hand pass in. Here's Matthew Armstrong, bending it back. Ellis again in front, but McKernan, with superior judgment, came from the back. And this is when their big guns normally fire, Lee, when North are in trouble.
Well, they need to. I mean, the North game plan, as we know, is to kick the ball long into their forward 50. And I think Footscray have really exploited that a bit tonight, got the numbers back. And when North have had 3 players in the midfield, they haven't necessarily used them on the way through. But when you've got a McKernan and a Carey who can jump up and mark in the forward 50, can make up for a lot of other things.
Well, a huge kick coming up here by Corey McKernan. I think he's missed it to the right. The Western Bulldogs fans breathe a sigh of relief. And there's a couple of staunch North supporters. Rowan Smith to bring it back in. 2 points the margin. North Melbourne in front.
Led by over 2 goals of the Breeze at their back in this final turn. But the Bulldogs back strongly. Or sloppy. West gets a free kick. Play on call. You can hear that call. Lateral handball. Ramiro back to Smith. Playing with enthusiasm, the Bulldogs. Martin, Minton Connell, a pivotal duel at this stage. Hudson, Archer onto him. Hudson goes to ground. Little handball out, Ramiro. Can they get an effective touch here? Now Cameron might be the man. About 60 metres from home, delivers to the pocket. Working his way to the front with Stevens. Taken by Bell. Bell flattened and down the ground, so not good play by the Bulldogs. Didn't need to do that. Play on call now as North bring it to Rock. Rock through the centre, kicks a half forward. Longmire's got it. And wouldn't they love him to kick the winner?
That free kick down the field might turn out to be very critical in the context of the game, really. I mean, I think there was 3 or 4 Footscray Bulldogs players to 1 North Melbourne player, but the kick down the field, North got it.
Longmire, good kick. Very good kick. He's got it, Long John. Well, he's going to remember that one. I know it's the Ansett Cup and not the Premiership season, but that'll give him a bit of heart. 12-9 to 11-7.
Yes, they just tried so hard, the Bulldogs. I mean, they've been in it all night, but as we mentioned, just that kick down the field allowed North to get that possession when they were outnumbered, and then Rock was free in midfield. Good kick to Longmire and a good conversion from 50 metres.
Eight points the margin, and that was very critical, as Lee Matthews said, that 50 metres, because when it looked like Footscray were going to get the ball, it went to the advantage of North by that 50, and they got possession, and then a great goal to Longmire. With happy supporters. 2.5 minutes. Oh, good play, a beautiful tap out to Ramiro. What can Footscray do here? But Martin showed enormous courage, running back with the flight of the ball, not knowing what was coming. Great mark. So Mickey Martin.
There's a lot of courage and standing your ground, keeping your eyes on the ball. Mick goes up to the task.
So this is Matthew Armstrong, time ticking away, just over 2 minutes left in this game. The Bulldogs need 2 straight kicks to hit the front. There's Wine flying over the top, but it's a boundary throw in at half forward for the Western Bulldogs.
Kernan and Wine, 12-9, 11-7. Kernan brings it down to Bell. Handball to Blakey. Had to get rid of it in a hurry under pressure. But North will be pretty pleased. Time ticking down. He's got a goal and a bit in front. Denis Pagan, such a successful coach at the club, came in at the end of North's run in the night series in '93. 5th, 3rd, and 1st in the premiership season since, and a night premiership as well. Allison well done to Roberts to Scott. Scott away, one bounce, then chips cleverly, and Longmire may kick the last 2 goals of the match. This one closer and straight in front after he dobbed one from about 50 a minute or 2 ago. Played most of this match in defence. Best goal-kicking season was 98 goals when he won the Coleman medal. Kicked it beautifully.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see what North Melbourne do with John Longmire this year. I mean, losing Ian Fairley or the retirement of Ian Fairley, maybe he could slot into centre-half back, but you know you can always put him forward. He's a chance to score, and he's just made the space. He's got into the correct looting position to give his players downfield a good target and really kick the 2 goals that have probably won them the game.
Just over a minute left in this game. It's been a gallant Western Bulldogs, but North Melbourne's class just starting to take over, as Wine has been very good. Tapped it down to Ramiro.
That'd have to be one of the optimistic parts of the game. I think Scott Wine has played one of the better games, I would have think. He hasn't sort of dominated, but he's got a bit of the ball. His ruck work's been good. He's looked far better than he did most of last season.
I've got no doubt that Longmire's best position is full forward, and that's where he'll be most of the year, I would think, as Guerra receives the handball, brings it down towards half forward, but he kicks it straight to the ex-Fitzroy backman, ex-Melbourne as well, of course, Martin Pike.
Goes long. Carey. Bell. He must pinch himself, Pike. Sometimes he gets the ball and he's got Carey leading for him. As good as that Melbourne side was in those days, and he struggled at Fitzroy. It's nice when you've got Carey up in front of you to kick it to, isn't it? McKernan lurking around. They've built a great club, North Melbourne, over the last few years. Little give was good to Liberatore coming from 10 to centre half forward. Watts read it pretty well. Handball to Hudson. Can he kick his 4th? To behind. And I guess, Lee, another reasonable sign for the Bulldogs has been Hudson up forward.
Oh, yes, they've been pretty competitive tonight. Scott West has had a good game. Cameron was, I mean, particularly good early. Then he sort of faded a little, I would have thought. But I think for the first time in the game also, North have allowed themselves to have that couple of loose men in defence rather than sending up and having a heap of forwards.
At the back, Simon Minton-Connell. Ramiro has to back turn. Found Minton-Connell. Runs it close to the line. Left foot. Back towards the forward pocket. North with the numbers. And holding ground. Simpson takes the mark. And North through to the quarter-final. It's a good match. 87 to 74. Little Libba. After we saw Carey. So they led by 13 points at half-time, North, and that's what they won by in the end. And Anthony Rock.